Welcome to the Alpha Investor. This is your channel to learn more about investing and finance as a non finance person. So, today we're going to learn about where do you buy shares and how can you buy those shares. So, essentially, we're trying to going to figure out where exactly are these so called shares in companies bought and sold, and where can you buy them uh, in South Africa. So for many years, shares have been bought and sold throughout the world in places called stock exchanges. So these places are where your shareholders meet up and decide to say, hey, I want to buy shares or I want to sell shares. And then they get to decide the price and the value or the volume of the shares that they want to decide to sell or buy. So obviously, since shareholders or investors don't have the time to meet up all the time, they invite their brokers or they nominate people who are going to buy and sell on their behalf. So these people are known as brokers. So brokers essentially are the ones who do the trading on behalf of the shareholders or the investors, but the decision of when and how to sell those shares is decided by the investor, and then the brokers charge a fee, and then everyone will be happy at the end of the day. So in South Africa, we have the Johannesburg Stock Exchange, also known as the JSE, which is located in Sandton. So it was founded in 1887 when there was a gold rush in the Witwatersrand in Gauteng in what is known as the Gauteng province today. So the stock exchange has been there for quite a while, so which is about more than 300 years ago, and essentially it is the largest stock exchange on the African continent, and it is the 20th largest stock exchange in the world with a market capitalization of 42 trillion rands with 442 companies listed on the main board. So they also sell commodities such as gold, silver, and wheat or maize. So what they mean by market capitalization, essentially it means that the total value of all the shares that are bought and sold on the exchange are valued at that amount. So this means that if you were to decide to wake up one day and say that you want to buy all those 442 companies that are listed, you would have to pay them $42 trillion. So which is obviously a lot of money, but what's good is that you can just buy a portion instead of just buying the whole company. So that's the whole point of buying the company in pieces instead of buying it as a whole business. So what's interesting is that with the JSE, there's not a lot of companies as compared to other exchanges. But what's good is that the quality of the companies that are listed there are very well known companies or very big companies. So the good thing is that there's not much need for you to worry in terms of whether you'll make lose a lot of money or whether the company will go bankrupt instantly. Because what's good about the JSE is that they offer services which protect the investors in terms of doing proper due diligence and ensuring that the companies publish proper financial statements that the shareholders can use to make investment decisions. So your brokers are the ones who are involved in making sure that your shares are bought and sold every single time you decide to buy and sell. And they're also involved in also trying to convince you to buy and sell on behalf of their own uh, businesses. But what's good is that nowadays, since we have the advancement of technology and the use of your cell phone or your laptop to make purchases, the good thing is that the brokers you no longer need to rely on an individual to make decisions for you, and therefore you won't have to pay a lot of money in terms of buying and selling those shares on your behalf. So in South Africa, where you can buy shares as an individual, there's EasyEquities, which is well known, or which is the most popular trading platform or brokerage platform for many retail investors or many shareholders that are interested in buying shares but at a small scale as compared to bigger players or people who are more wealthy. And then there's also eToro. With eToro, what's good is that it is also a South African based company, but then the the platform is not as popular as EasyEquities, and it's much more prudent to use a platform that you might feel that it's more safe and reliable for yourself. So I'm not involved in the promotion of these two platforms. You can do your own research in terms of figuring out which one works for you. So there's equities, there's eToro, as well as other platforms that I might not have mentioned here. And in the case where maybe you don't want to use these platforms, or you feel like using these platforms is going to be a hassle, you can also go to your bank and request them to help you in terms of making the purchases of those shares, or maybe if you want to sell certain shares that you maybe have, and they will just do that for you, with obviously charging you a fee on top of what you are paying them with your normal day-to-day transactions. So with the bank, what's good about them is that it's going to be very easy as using these platforms, but the only difference is that they'll be making executions for you. However, you need to also keep in mind that they will take more time than when you are using these platforms. With these platforms, purchases are made instant, sales are also instant. Though the only thing that will take time is like your settlement when you decide to sell the shares, as well as the time it takes to settle when you are buying the shares. However, the value of the purchase that you make will remain at the price that you have decided to buy or sell the shares at. So this is known as the market value. Now, what are the things to consider before buying shares on the JSE? So, the things that you would need to consider is firstly, how much money do you want to invest on the JSE, and how much are you willing to risk in terms of the investments that you make? And also, do you only want to buy shares, or do you maybe want to buy commodities, or maybe you want to buy ETFs or any other financial product that may be linked to those companies that are listed on the JSE, or maybe certain things that you might be interested in terms of the world of finance and investing. So there are other stock exchanges in the world, such as the New York Stock Exchange and the NASDAQ, which are located in the United States of America. So that's where the big American companies are listed and they sell their shares there. So what's good about platforms such as EasyEquities and eToro is that you can still make purchases of those companies that are listed on the New York Stock Exchange as well as the NASDAQ, and then you can get to also decide how much you want to invest and so forth. So, for example, let's say maybe you see that there's uh, Google in South Africa, but then now you see that you want to profit from the fact that it's operating in South Africa, but then you can't invest in it since it's not listed on the JSE. So that's when now you need to look at other stock exchanges to find which companies are listed on those exchanges. Uh, Thank you for listening and taking your time to watch this video. If you have any questions, please ask in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe and like the video. Thank you.